Good morning, Spenuel, the Black Pen. Two quick excerpts from articles from me. The first one, which one do I start with? Let me start with this one. The first one is from iol.co.za and it's written by Kamogelo Moichela. Kamogelo Moichela writes, President Cyril Ramaphosa has condemned the intentional destruction of water infrastructure for profit by companies hired to supply water during shortages, stating that this must stop. Ramaphosa stressed that the roaming water tankers were meant to be an intervention in the absence of water and not to be treated as a business. He condemned water mafias believed to be company owners to stop the water sabotage for them to gain control of the supply. In inverted commas, they send the to go and cut the water lines and make sure that there is failure by the local authorities to deliver water, leading to the alternative of relying on them to transport because they make money out of transporting water, he said. In inverted commas, there's no dignity for people to be standing alongside the streets just tapping water from a truck where somebody's making money from this. This must come to an end. Why am I reading this article? I'm reading this article because, Cyril Ramaphosa is one of the most gaslighting leaders that we've had. And for him to state this, number one, he'd need to prove it. Has anyone been arrested for water sabotage? Have the people that have been arrested for water sabotage been linked to some of the companies that are supplying water trucks? Can he state that look, we have arrested people who have been sabotaging pipes, and those people are linked. We have direct links, and we've arrested those people that get those tenders for the water trucks. Can he state that categorically? Otherwise, this becomes rumors, which a lot of us are accused of doing. Because I've said on many platforms that, in my opinion, allegedly, apparently, what Cyril is speaking about is no different to what himself, his family members, and his business associates have done with Eskom. You can draw a direct line. When Eskom is down and they need generators, they need diesel. I've spoken about this on Convo. I've spoken about this on the panel show. Dealing with weather is affecting the network. So this video is probably not going to be good quality, and I apologize. When Eskom is down and the generators need diesel, that diesel comes from Petro SA. Petro SA gets this diesel from Engen, which is linked to one of Cyril's business associates, Uputhuma Nhleko at Pembani. They get their diesel from Astron Energy, which used to be Caltex, which is owned by Glencore, the business associates of Cyril Ramaphosa. And we can go on and on. When you look at the independent producers, with Cyril Ramaphosa as well, who was in charge of the fire room at Eskom to try and resolve load shedding. When you look at the independent power producers, those licenses were distributed by his brother-in-law, Jeff Radebe, who was a minister in the presidency. And one of the biggest beneficiaries there would be Patrice Motsepe, who is his brother-in-law. So when Cyril accuses people of sabotaging water so that they can make money, we can similarly draw similar parallel to say, but yourself, your business associates, your family members benefit when there's load shedding at Eskom. Are you saying that we should assume that there's sabotage at Eskom so that you guys can make money? What about his other business associates that make money from coal and the coal mafia? So again, as I said, if Cyril is not going to tell us people have been arrested, those people have been linked to people that get tenders for water tankers, then he's just spewing conspiracy theories and opinions like the rest of us. That's number one. Number two, and this is maybe credit to the EFF, many people have been calling for the insourcing of services. Why does government have to give tenders for water tankers? Why is government not saying, no, we are going to buy our own water tankers, and whenever there are issues, we are going to ensure that the communities get water? A similar thing, of course, with Eskom again. A similar thing maybe even with coal. To be like, look, if there's issues at Eskom, we'll make sure that we sort it out as the government, as the state. But Cyril now, it almost sounds like he's sour because clearly maybe some of his business associates and some of his family members are not involved in this water tendering space. And maybe if they were, he'd be pretending and getting shocked like he normally is about what's going on. So I felt very gaslit by Cyril saying this. We do know there are people sabotaging the infrastructure of water. We know this. We do know there are people making money from supplying water through water tankers. We know this. But similarly, we also know at Eskom there are mafias. There's the coal mafia, there's the trucking mafia, there's the diesel mafia. There are tenders there for people that do endless maintenance. There's a construction mafia in the building of the power plants, and all of these people are charging money. And it just so happens that Cyril becomes one of the beneficiaries or linked to the beneficiaries of those mafias there. But maybe he's not benefiting from these mafias here, and that's why he's got an issue with this. I wanted to read that article. Second article I'm reading is from EWN Eyewitness News, written by Uzolega Kotash. Lobby group Afriforum has accused judges of using personal ideologies to interpret the Constitution. The organization expressed disappointment in a constitutional court order that dismissed its application for leave to appeal a judgment that found that the song Kill the Boer did not constitute as hate speech. The Supreme Court of Appeal, the SCA, found that when chanting the song, Economic Freedom Fighters EFF leader Julius Malema used a historic struggle song with the related performance gestures to advance his party's political agenda. The Equality Court first delivered judgment in the matter in 2020, dismissing Afriforum's appeal. The Constitutional Court's order now brings finality to the matter. Afriforum CEO Cyril said that, in inverted commas, this decision of the court to allow somebody to sing that Afrikaners can be killed. The fact is, we are seeing the radicalization in the interpretation of the Constitution. We see more and more ideologically driven judges. This, together with the fact that the presidency, as well as the government, refuses to condemn these slogans that call for the killing of Afrikaners, means that we are on our own. It lost the case in 2020. The Constitutional Court has made it final that this song, this chant, kill the Boer, the farmer, and dobole, bono, dobola, dobola. This is not hate speech. Now, a few things. Number one, Afriforum and many others, whenever judgments don't go according to them, they don't say, oh, we will respect the law. We lost, we're now happy. When they win, they always expect other people to respect the rule of law. But we were in a court of law, fair and square, we won. That's hypocritical. And again, they're not the only ones. Whenever these guys are not favored by the courts, all of a sudden, the judges are using personal ideologies. The judges might be captured. When things are in their favor, it's the rule of law, it's in black and white. They exhausted all their channels. So this is just convenient and it's wrong. I personally have issues with our judges in South Africa, the magistrates, all the way to the Chief Justice. I believe they are captured in many ways. I think their interpretation of the laws many times are biased. I think in many respects, our legal framework is outdated and is still oppressive in many ways to the ordinary South African, in particular the poor South African. That's number one. Number two, their case was to say the song or the chant is hate speech, and you need to prove that it's hate speech. Now, this is very difficult. Again, maybe a good example is this. I'm driving in the rain, it's dark, some child runs across the street. I hit the child passes away. If someone opens a case of murder in the first degree, they will lose that case because the case they're opening is not for what happened. They're assuming that I went to drive out because I wanted to kill this person, but there's no premeditation there. It is not murder in the first degree. You could speak about culpable homicide, negligence. Was I speeding on the road? Was I driving with caution? Was the child well within their rights? Maybe they were crossing a traffic light. Maybe they were crossing a zebra crossing and I was negligent. I could be found guilty of that. It depends on what you're going for. To say that the song is hate speech, they will lose that because these songs have a historic significance to South Africans. These are songs that were part of the struggle and they represented the fight to say, look, white Afrikaner people and the government are killing us. So we must fight back. We must kill the Boer. We must kill the farmer because the Boer and the farmer is killing us. Dubuli, which was a song of Umkhonto weSizwe and other guerrilla wings of the struggle. To say, Sizoba Dubula, we will shoot them if they shoot at us. It is not necessarily that randomly we don't like white people, they must die. It has a specific significance to our history. So in that case, you're not going to win to say this song is hate speech, and because it can be proven that this song has historical significance to the legacies of this country. My suggestion to Afriforum and many others is to say, don't take this case as a hate speech case, because you're lying. And if you're going to say this song is about killing white people and it's about white genocide and it's about ensuring that, you're lying. I can tell you now, as someone who is sympathetic to many of the struggles of white people in this country, that this song is not about that. It's really not. And until they can prove that there were people that listened to the song, went to get weapons, went out of their way to go and kill white people, they have no leg to stand on. If they can prove that the EFF itself is going out of their way to go and kill white people, oppress white people, they have a leg to stand on. And right now they don't. This is what I would prefer. They take up the song and this chant and they take it to the Human Rights Commission, to a court, and to say, look, we believe that this song incites racial tensions in this country. And here is the proof. These are the Twitter squabbles. These are the arguments online. These are the emotional pains of certain white people. This is how this song has traveled around the world. This is how certain people feel. When you ask a young white child, how do you feel when you hear kill the Boer? I feel scared. When you ask another white person, how do you feel when you hear Dubuli Poon and you hear what it means? I'm worried for me and my family's safety. They may have a case to say, here is the proof that this song incites racial fighting and racial tensions, not necessarily that it is hate speech per definition, because I can then sympathize with that. I'm one of the people that feel that I don't think the song has a place in modern South Africa. I think it's very convenient for the EFF and Julius to constantly chant and sing the song at rallies because they know it gets people excited. It may not get people to kill others, but it gets people excited, and then it alienates another group of the population, being certain white people. And I don't think that's nice. It may be nice, you feel strong. White people are panicking. Amapunu must feel. It might be nice to you, but it's not nice to an innocent person there, to a 10-year-old little white Afrikaans girl, to a 14-year-old white Afrikaans boy who may not necessarily understand the dynamics. But then they hear people singing the song, kill the Boer. And it's like, but I'm a Boer. Are they singing that I must be killed? So we need to understand the nuance of what this means. Does the song add value to South Africa today? Does the song and this chant help Black people build good schools? Does it help poor Black people get into business? Does it help poor Black people self-determine and say, you know, after singing this song, I am now feeling positive. I'm going to make a positive contribution to the economy, to the country. I'm going to love my family better. I'm going to be a good father, a good mother, etc. And the short answer is no. This song adds no positive value to get people riled up and then to cause racial tension. And for me personally, I think the song should be banned, especially at gatherings. Don't sing the song, don't chant the song, because we can see what it does on social media in getting people to fight amongst each other. I had a similar uttering years back when the same Afriforum went to court to try and legitimize the old South African / apartheid flag. I was like, but this flag causes pain to a lot of people. Is the flag hate speech? No. Does the flag, a piece of cloth, oppress someone? No. Does it kill anyone? No. Does it take money from someone? No. But I truly apologize. With the weather and the network, I can only imagine what bad quality this video is. I actually shudder to think when I watch back, but it's raining in Johannesburg, so the networks sadly affect the network quality. The old apartheid flag, the old South African flag, may not necessarily cause physical harm, but in the emotional triggering, in the gaslighting, in the trauma of yourself, your family members who were tortured, who were oppressed under an apartheid regime, I understood why the court said, we will not legitimize this flag that you guys can just wave it around, especially at gatherings. So if you see the old apartheid flag especially being waved, you can go to the courts and say, hey, let's go and see this. And I'd like to think this Dubuli Punu Kill the Boer song is in the same brackets as that. It may not necessarily cause to the harm, physical harm, or the murdering of people, but it can cause to emotional strain, trauma, triggering. And I think if Afriforum were to take on that fight, people like myself can support that and say, listen, I think there are so many other beautiful struggle songs that black people can sing. They can sing about umhlaba, izwe to the land. They can sing songs about the economy, isimo somnotho. They can sing songs about imfundo, we want education. Sifuna ukuzithuthukisa, we want to develop ourselves. They can sing songs about changing the system. We can sing those songs. We do not have to sing and chant this specific song. And those are my thoughts around that article. A friend from Namibia, Tunga, read a tweet. So there was a tweet that was posted by Shadaya Knight. I screenshot it. I posted it on my WhatsApp status. I got so many DMs from a lot of prominent people agreeing with this tweet, which half made me sad. The tweet said, unpopular opinion. The black nation cannot be saved. Black people cannot be saved. Very hard to hear. Unpopular opinion. Tunga responds and says this. You cannot save what never or doesn't exist. Never existed and doesn't exist. Black people, the black nation. Tunga goes on to say, only two people, two groups of people go on about nations in a racial sense. White people, because they created the white nation, and maybe I can add white supremacy as a psychological or consciousness model. And black people, because they were cobbled into a so-called black nation. Something founded and predicated on being behind and oppressed. Essentially a sabotaged skorokoro. Skorokoro is a car that's old and beaten up and not in good shape. Creating a racial nation is a mammoth, Herculean task. So props to the architects of this. Then he goes and he breaks down three groups. He says the Chinese care about China, a country/nation that was once unified as the Qing dynasty and mapped out prior to Europe. Indians care about India, a country/nation that was once unified as the Maurya and the Mughals and also mapped out prior to Europe. The North Africans and the Southwest Eurasians care about the Ummah, which was a country and a nation that was once unified as the Umayyads and mapped out prior to Europe as well. What claim/right does the fantasize of the so-called black nation have for this fairy tale land? Even Disneyland is realer than this black nation. And those three aforementioned examples were created by sword, by blood. Now, just that piece on its own had me thinking about part of the reason why I stopped being pro-black. And one of the reasons I set up penalism, and one of my thoughts around where we take the world moving forward. Race is a human construct. What do I mean by that? Yeah, but you can see this guy's white, you can see the guy's black. Come on, bro. It's a human construct in the divisions of what races are or are meant to be. When I look at the data online, and I do my own little audit, which is not really accurate at all, it looks like there's about 20%, there's a 20% black population in the world, black. There's like a 20% white population. There's a close to 30% brown population and about a 30% yellow population. Those are not popular terms, the brown and the yellow. This should already tell you that this thing of race is focused on white and black. When you look at those breakdowns, you realize the dynamics of how people have moved and how we've been misled. Africa on its own has got about 1.4 billion with a B, billion black people. Of course, you've got your China with, I think, about 1.4 billion. You've got India with, I think, 1.2 billion. You've got your Europe. I think Europe might have 600, I stand to be corrected, 600 million white people. The United States of America has probably got another 250 odd million white people, etc. Anyways, to make things easy, it's just the white population and the black population are not too far from each other from a racial perspective. 60% of the global population sits in Asia, with about half being brown, the other half being yellow. There's a white gentleman that speaks about the human construct of race. And he speaks about how, I think he was speaking about Europe, when the lords there, when the elite, when the bourgeoisie realized that the peasants and the lower classes were starting to revolt, they needed to create an enemy. And they created that enemy along what they deem racial lines. The problem is not us, the rich. The problem is these brown people and these black people and these yellow people. They are the problem. And all of a sudden, the poorer amongst the white started seeing issues with the other races instead of the same race that was oppressing them. We see this the world over. If you go to places like China, the rich people and the poor people are the same color, yellow. If you go to India, the rich and the poor are the same color, brown. If you go to many parts of Africa, the rich and the poor, same color, black. If you go to Europe, if you go to North America, parts of South America, same. There are places like South Africa where the dynamics are different, where you look at historically now, the rich people happen to be white, the poor people happen to be black. And it's worse because this was legally designed as such, and many other colonized parts of Africa. So that becomes unique. India at some point was also colonized under British rule with the Polynesians, the island, the Australia, the New Zealand, the Tunga, the Samoa, the Fiji. You can look at parts of South America as well, of which we can debate whether Hispanic, Latino people fall under white. They wouldn't fall under black. They wouldn't fall under yellow, which is Eastern Asian. They wouldn't fall under brown, which is the Western Asian, the Indians and the like. So they normally fall under white, but they're not really. And they're not really mixed race. So it becomes complicated. White supremacy, colonialism as we know it, did the world a disservice, and in particular many indigenous peoples, including the Black African people of Africa, and in this context, South Africa. And they created these laws: Europeans only, slegs blankes, geen swartes, no blacks, only white areas, and we bought into it. To a point where in 2025, we still have black economic empowerment. We speak about uplifting black people. We are defined as white, no longer European, for many, white, black, we've got Indian, we've got colored, is what we have in this country, of which the colored is mixed race people that over generations would have children with each other and create their own culture of colored people. We're still defined by that. Now, because we're defined by that, we now fight according to racial lines. And because of our history, which was racial, this seems fair. But for the future, the racial lines are not going to help us because they were created by human beings with sinister agendas. So what am I trying to say in everything that I'm saying here? If we want to thrive as humanity, we are going to have to transcend race labels. And I know many people are going to struggle, maybe for many generations to come, because of the history of white supremacy and its atrociousness. We need to move beyond race, and in my opinion, move closer towards culture, religion, geography. Geography, some people might call a nation, like China. But I want to add this culture and religious aspect. Two of the most progressive economic groups in South Africa are not identified as a race. They are identified by their religious background or their religious ideology. This is the Jewish community, and this is the Muslim community. We don't just say Indians from India, they're South African. We don't say brown people, because there are many poor brown people in South Africa. There are brown people that don't fall under Islam. They are Hindu, or they are Christian, or they are something else. We can't say they're thriving. We speak specifically about Muslims. When we speak about Jewish people, we're not speaking about Israelis from Israel. We speak about white people from South Africa who fall under the Jewish religious group. Religion. When you speak culture, again, you go beyond race. There are still to this day fights between the Ndebele and the Shona people in Zimbabwe. Two black groups. You go further up north, we speak about one of the worst genocides we've had on the continent. The Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda, the Rwandan genocide. Two black groups. Nigeria is split between the Christians and the Muslims. to a point where you'd get your Boko Harams and the like. In South Africa, although we didn't fight like that, but some people have tried to cause division between us. You've got the Zulus and the Xhosas. Similar black groups, different cultural backgrounds. Culture, religion, geography. Geography now is where we're meant to be proudly South African. Rainbow Nation, when the Springboks are winning, when we're celebrating Tyler or Chad Leclos or Charlize Theron, we're meant to be one nation, which is a geography. You can get more done focusing on your geography. We need to build a strong South African economy. We need to compete in terms of sports. That is a shared geography, a shared religion like Christianity or Islam or Judaism, a shared culture, which now the culture one is the most difficult one because of racial labeling, we have now assimilated to cultures that were not ours and that may not even serve us. The Flemish, the German, the Dutch, the French, people that came to South Africa came and procreated with each other, interbreeding, mingling of sorts. They are almost a colored culture themselves. They decided to identify with geography, Africa, and became Afrikaners. And they came up with their own language, which was actually created by black people in the Western Cape who would trade with these people when they would be going and traveling and looking for a midway station on their way to Asia to fetch silk and spices. So they would create this Fana Galore, mixed masala type language, which became what we now today know as Afrikaans, which is a mix of the German, the Dutch, the French. You look at even the surnames, Hollenbach, van Rieder, de Toy, and these are mixed masala, and it became a language identified by geography, Afrikaans. And they created a unique culture, which assimilated with nature. Farming, you look at the clothes that they wear, the khakis to have to do with nature, with the climate. You look at the fact that they love indigenous foods in the form of biltong. They created their own cook sisters, and they created their own culture and their own identity as boers, farmers. That is a culture. They decided to adopt a religion, Christianity, which comes from Jesus of Nazareth, there in the Middle East somewhere. Abo Bethlehem, Nabo Jerusalem, Nabo Canaan, and those places. Christianity. Other people would argue that it was formalized by the Roman Catholic Church with the Roman Empire, of which the Roman Catholic Church's headquarters are now in the Vatican, which is, I think, arguably the smallest country in the world. The Vatican and the Catholic Church. And some have argued that the Roman Empire never failed, never fell. It just converted into a church. And the Roman Catholic Church was the one that was involved in some of the most heinous crimes of mass murdering to spread this Christian doctrine. Some people argue that the British Empire also didn't fall. It just converted into the banking system. Of course, with the underpinnings of the Rothschild, the central bank of London, to be like, now the British Empire runs the world through banks, and we're all colonized under this money system that they own. So the Roman Empire didn't fall. We are all colonized under Christianity. But the main thing here is, how do we transcend race, which was a human construct with sinister agendas, which today still colonizes us and forces us to fight in many ways? You push a focus to geography. We live in the same neighborhood. Our children go to the same school. Why would I fight for you? Fight with you, rather. If I fight with you, it means we are going to destroy our children's education. If I fight with you, it means we're destroying our own neighborhood. If I litter here, I'm not just littering to spite you, I'm spiting myself as well. So can we say we are the proud residents of Stellenbosch? We are the proud residents of Soweto, regardless of our racial background, because we want our community to thrive. Dubai, Silicon Valley, thriving spaces. Johannesburg, arguably thriving, depends on who you ask. Mixed masala pot of races, but we want this place to be safe. We want the economy to do well. We want our children to get good education. So can we unite as Johannesburgers together? One religion, the Jewish community, small community in South Africa doing brilliantly well academically, economically. The Muslims, small community doing very well academically, economically. United, they can go to Johannesburg, to Stellenbosch, they can go to Mlazi, to Ekukuletu, they can go to the Free State. It doesn't matter. They are proud Muslims. They pray 5 times a day. They send their kids to madrasa. They celebrate all the Islamic holidays. They go to mosque. They pray to Allah, and they're united in that way. Not because of race. As a black person, as a white person, you can convert to Islam and read the Quran and then follow your Muslim brothers and sisters in the lifestyle that they have and thrive together. Culture. Culture. How do we create a South African culture? How do we create a Zulu culture that thrives? A Sotho culture that thrives? And to say, don't call me black, don't call me white, I'm proudly Sotho. Don't call me colored, don't call me Indian, I am proudly Ndebele. Don't call me white, don't call me whatever, I'm Afrikaner. I'm part of a cultural group. And this is how we live every day. Our children go to these educational institutions. We maybe have this religious understanding. This is who our God is. This is what we eat. This is what we wear. And this is how we move. And this is how we define our economy. This is how we define our laws. This is how we move politically. We are failing in this regard, and we claim to be very intelligent. But we've succumbed to, myself included, to be complicit in the race agendas that have divided people for so long. And one of the reasons we won't win is because race is not a value system. I am different from a black person in Nigeria, from a black person in Burundi, from a black person in Sierra Leone, from a black person in Tanzania, from a black person in Ethiopia. We are completely different, but we may look the same. Why are we different? Because we maybe have a different religious belief. We have a different cultural ideology. We might have a different geography. In the geography they're in, with the climate, with the way things are, with the music, we are different animals. I am more aligned to a white Afrikaner than an Igbo man in Nigeria. We are so different. We watch different sporting codes. We eat different foods. We have different hobbies. We believe in a different type of education system for our children. And for those amongst us who deem themselves leaders of sorts, this is meant to be the message we're meant to be sending out there. Prejudice will not end. Trust. People fight within their own families. People fight within their own families. Prejudice will not end. But we can have smarter ways of being prejudicial against each other with the hope of being progressive. This school is fighting with that school, but it's healthy competition and they're both thriving. The Muslims and the Jews can be like, let's see who will be richer this year. And they all go out of their way to make money, and they thrive and they grow the economy. I forgot to add class, of which I don't like this one, but the next step after race is class, the rich and the poor, which for many are also systems that are created and indoctrinated and made law. The rich and the poor, because I'm part of the poor, and then some of the rich misuse this thing of the poor to get certain poor groups to fight with each other. The poor black man and the poor white man both live in the same poverty. Both are struggling to get jobs. Both their children are not getting good education. Both are being oppressed in various ways. But they're fighting each other because these rich people, black and white, are getting them to fight each other on racial lines. But their issue is actually poverty. They should be united in poverty. Yaku and Temba and Susan and Usbongile should be working together to say, you are poor like I am poor. We might have different religions, we might look at different color, but we share a common class. How do we uplift ourselves? I will buy from you, Susan. I will buy from you, Yaku. I will buy from you, Temba. I'll buy from you, Spongile, because we share a commonality in poverty and we want to get out. Let us not let these rich people come and play with mind games with us. Oh, you're going to let Muslims do that to you. And you're like, Muslims? That guy's poor like me. You're rich. You're Christian like I'm Christian, but you're rich. I'm poor. That Muslim guy is poor like me. You will not get me to fight that guy when our struggle is poverty. When we're speaking religion, definitely we can speak about how we believe Jesus Christ is a better prophet and a leader and a savior than maybe Prophet Muhammad. There, sure. But you're not going to tell me to look down on that guy, not buy from his business because he's Muslim. But I must buy from your business and you're rich and I'm poor like this guy is poor. We need to transcend these things. I speak from a place of privilege, of course, because I was raised, number one, I was born in a township in Madadeni, Newcastle, in KwaZulu-Natal. My mom worked hard as a school teacher to get a bond in 1990, 91, I'm not sure, in the suburbs. And we moved, I think it was 91. We moved to Arbor Park in suburbia. I'd have white neighbors on both sides. First time, Afrikaans neighbors at that. And then I'd be sent to the schools. It would be 1993, where it would be the first time I'd be studying with white children. So before that, I was with black kids. Then I went to a colored school, Chelmsford Primary in Newcastle, in a colored area called Fairley. And then in 1993, I went to Newcastle Junior Primary. It would be the first time they allowed black kids in there. It was Busy Bee. Then I'd go to Newcastle Senior Primary, Newcastle High. I was raised with a lot of white children, Indian children, Taiwanese children, because Newcastle's got a big Taiwanese community, coloreds. And I got to see this. And I had a lot of good white teachers and coaches who were very kind to me. There were some white teachers and white coaches that were racist to me. There were many of my white friends that were really good to me. There were certain white kids that were racist to me. Then I saw racism and prejudice from Indians, from coloreds, from the Taiwanese, etc. And over my life, I've seen what racial dynamics and breakdowns and tensions do to people. So I speak from a place of privilege. The average black child who's born in a township, raised in a township, is oppressed and prejudiced in many ways. They only understand that white people are rich and white people are racist and white systems are oppressive. That's all they know. And I understand their pain. There are certain white kids that only know whiteness. They grew up in a lily white neighborhood. They went to white schools. They understand that black people are criminals. Black people are corrupt. They are prejudiced in their own ways. And because of their warped perspective on life, I understand where they are coming from. And I'm like, you have been hoodwinked into the racial agenda, and there's something beyond it. It's like the gender agenda. Gender. You're a woman. What do you know about running a business? You're a woman. How can you be an engineer? You're a man. What do you know about looking after children? You're a man. Obviously, you can't cook. The gender stereotypes and the conditioning that we've inherited, which we need to work beyond. There are things we cannot change. A woman, as a vagina has breasts, she's designed to carry life and to birth life. And because of that and because of her hormones, she is better placed to be a nurturer. The man has got a high testosterone, he's going to be hairier, he's going to have a deeper voice, and all those things. So he's more suited to more of the physical stuff, just biologically. But some of the other things are human construct. The fact that you have a deep voice, the fact that you're hairy, the fact that you have a beard, doesn't mean you can't make a delicious oxtail. It doesn't mean that you can't make formula for a baby and change their nappy. The fact that you're a woman with a light voice and you're raised and you're feminine, you do your nails, doesn't mean that you cannot run a company to success. Does not mean that you cannot be a medical doctor and operate on patients. There's a world beyond the walls that we've inherited, which cause unnecessary division. As I end my video today, again, I want to urge you guys, as difficult as it is, I understand it's difficult, but maybe I'm the Jesus of my time who is here to tell you that race is a human construct and we can fight and defeat racist ideologies. Let us maybe fight on cultural lines, which are also kind of silly and man-made, but they're not racial. Let us fight maybe on gender lines, which also we've kind of defined in various ways. Let us fight on geographical lines. I'm American, I'm Russian, I'm Chinese. It's okay. But race, Indians, Pakistanis, Sri Lankans, Bangladeshis, people from Nepal, they are not going around saying we're fighting for brown people. People from Japan, people from South Korea, people from Vietnam, people from China, they are not going around saying we're fighting for yellow people. But white and black people are still on those lines. And white supremacy, the white supremacist agenda will obviously be defended by white people that rely on it. It is for some of the poorer white people to see that this thing is not working. It is a few rich white people who are using this to their agenda. for their agendas. But I can see my poor black brother and sister there. They're struggling just like me. And it is for poor black people to also realize that some of these rich black people are using racial ideologies to get us to keep supporting them so that they can make money on their own. But they don't live with us geographically. They send their kids to certain schools. They laugh with certain friends. When they're making money, they don't share it with us. They share it with their white friends, their Chinese friends, their Indian friends. But more than anything, man, if people from India, if people from China are not going around speaking about yellow and brown people, we need to start maybe not speaking about black and white people and rather say, I'm a proud Jewish person. I'm a proud Israeli. I'm a proud Afrikaner. I'm a proud Zulu man. I'm a proud Xitsonga woman. I'm a proud Xhosa person, whatever the case may be. And maybe identify as your cultural heritage or identify as your geography. I'm proudly from the Eastern Cape. Yeah, but you're white. Don't worry about that. I'm from the Eastern Cape. Ndiyathetha Xhosa because in Puma Colony. Identify as your geography. Maybe. And let's work to get rid of these things because the politicians and certain rich people make so much money when the rest of us fight, when there are so many things that are more common with us than are different amongst us. I want to send a shout out. I don't watch Big Brother. It's not my type of viewing. I want to send a shout out to Sweet Kuluva, who won Big Brother. I saw a lady who was one of the finalists, Ashley, who was on the Hustlers Corner with DJ Smooth. Shout out to her as well. I think she's a colored lady from Durban, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and I think I'll end it on that note. Looking forward to reading your comments in the comments section and how we can carry on with this conversation that I think is fundamentally important to the future, not just of our country, but of our children, our grandchildren, and the world beyond. If we can destroy this racial thing in certain parts of South Africa, I promise you, we will become game changers in the rest of the world, and we will go around teaching people how to transcend race and then teach them how to build cultures that are progressive, to bring black, white, mixed race, Hispanic, whatever the case may be, come together here, yellow, brown people, etc. Come together here, define your own culture. This is our culture. This is what we eat. This is what we wear. This is how we worship. This is our spirituality. This is where we live geographically. And we thrive as a common culture together. Penuel the Black Pen. Cheers.